All right, quick video for year 11 to go over some of the things that we covered yesterday in our first lesson on the topic of conflict in the Middle East. It's got a rather wordy title here of what were the three agreements Britain made regarding Palestine between 1915 and 1917. Now, if you remember, we looked at some of the issues surrounding Palestine and the different groups of people who wanted to live in Palestine and have ownership of it at the turn of the 20th century. If you're still a bit unsure about that, look back at your notes, look at the right at the start of the textbook, first couple of pages of the textbook will clarify that, if you're still a bit unsure. Remember that one of the key issues, we talked about this, one of the key issues that's about to pop up is that of Zionism. In fact, I've got a card for that here. So Zionism, the idea, here you go, put forward by Theodor Herzl, the journalist, that the Jews had faced persecution wherever they went. They'd never be able to properly assimilate or integrate with non-Jews, and that in order to secure a peaceful settlement, there should be an independent Jewish state where they could all live. And this, according to Herzl, would be in what they saw as their promised land. We looked at this of Jerusalem, and Zionism takes its name from Mount Zion, which is in Jerusalem. So Zionism is obviously one of the key, that's a picture there of Mount Zion. So Zionism is one of the key issues kind of surrounding this issue of who's going to live and own Palestine and Jerusalem at the turn of the 20th century. Obviously, Zionism is an idea put forward, as I say, by Theodor Herzl and by many of the Jewish community who say that that's where they should live, and obviously that causes quite a bit of tension with Palestinian Arabs who want to live and own that area of land as well. So, getting right down to these agreements, how did these agreements come about? Well, it all relates to the First World War, or it largely relates to the First World War. During the war, if you remember, because you know this from when we studied the First World War, Britain were fighting against not only Germany, they were also fighting against the Ottoman Empire, who were allied with Germany. Remember Gallipoli and the things we've looked at there. And if you'll remember as well, the Ottoman Empire were at this time occupying Palestine. Palestine was part of the Ottoman Empire. They ruled over it. So in 1915, the British made an agreement with the Palestinian Arabs, or with the Arabs in general, but the Palestinian Arabs were obviously part of this group, with the Arabs living in Palestine, called the McMahon-Hussein Agreement. So in 1915, Britain makes this agreement with the Arabs, and this agreement stated that in return for helping the British against the Ottomans, the Arabs would be given their independence after the war. So Britain say, look, you help us out against the Ottomans, you fight against them with us, alongside us, and really help us out. And if you do that at the end of the war, when we've beaten them, you can have your independence. So, Palestine in particular, for the Palestinian Arabs, that's going to belong to you. That's going to be your land. You're going to have independence. You can, as I say, Palestine will be in your hands, Palestinian Arabs. Which, is obviously what they'd wanted for a long time. A lot of Arabs living in the Ottoman Empire weren't happy. They didn't want to be part of the Ottoman Empire, particularly the Palestinian Arabs. So naturally, they agreed to this. That's why the agreement was signed. The British got what they wanted. They got the Arabs helping them out against the Ottoman Empire. And the Arabs got what they thought they got what they wanted. That the British had said, all right, when we have won the war, you're going to have independence, an independent Palestine. Now, it all worked out really well for the British because, as you know, by the end of 1918, they defeated the Ottomans with the help of the Arabs, who were very, very useful in the fighting against the Ottoman Empire. And the Palestinian Arabs were obviously initially quite happy because they thought they'd achieved their independence. But the British in 1916 had, in secret, signed another agreement. And this agreement was with France. So just a year later, in 1916, Britain signed this agreement called the Sykes-Picot Agreement. That's what it became known as anyway, the Sykes-Picot Agreement. And the Sykes-Picot Agreement stated that the Ottoman Empire, again, once it was defeated, the Ottoman Empire would be divided up between Britain and France, because both of them were desperate, or fairly desperate, to cling on to their oil supplies from the Middle East. As you know, again, we've mentioned this several times in history, and it's often part of the news as well, that the Middle East and the oil in the Middle East is a pretty hot topic. So the British and the French wanted to maintain their oil supplies from the Middle East, and they also, as part of that, tied into that, they wanted to maintain their access to something called the Suez Canal, which, as you will find, will come across the Suez Canal again in the course later on. It's a very important canal that is used for international trading. Even today, the Suez Canal is a really important canal that connects the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, and it's really important for trading. Essentially, if you're getting your oil or whatever else it may be, if shipping is coming over from Asia or the eastern side of Africa, going through or up through the Suez Canal. I should have a map really with me to kind of illustrate this, but going through the Suez Canal basically saves the ships going all the way around Africa, all the way down the southern tip of Africa and around the west, etc. Again, if you look at a map, you'll kind of see it. And we'll come across the Suez Canal again later on in the course. But the British and the French said, we want to maintain our access to the Suez Canal because it's really important for our shipping and for our trade. So that was part of the reason why they come to this Sykes-Picot agreement. They said, once the Ottomans have been defeated, we will divide up the Ottoman Empire to make sure that we can keep the land around the Suez Canal and around our Middle Eastern oil supplies, so no one else gets it. Because, as I say, they were pretty desperate to keep access to it. Palestine, let's focus particularly on Palestine, because that's obviously what we're worried about. Palestine, it was decided, would remain under international control. So it wouldn't be independent, it'd be under international control. So, as I say, it wouldn't be independent. Britain had said it was going to be independent a year before in the McMahon-Hussein agreement, and, a year later, they're saying, oh, actually, no, it's not going to be independent at all. It's going to be under international control. So already, within a year, Britain have contradicted themselves. They've got one agreement saying one thing, and now they've got another agreement saying something totally different, or quite different. Then, in 1917, there's the third agreement. The Balfour Declaration. The Balfour Declaration in 1917. Now, the Balfour Declaration was a declaration, a statement, what was a letter, in fact, written by this man here, Arthur Balfour. Arthur Balfour was the British Foreign Secretary. He had actually been Prime Minister about 15 years before this, actually, but Arthur Balfour was the British Foreign Secretary, and he wrote a letter, as I said before, he wrote a letter to Baron Rothschild, who was the leader of the British Jewish community. And the Balfour Declaration, I've got a card to show you in a second, the Balfour Declaration stated, or Balfour said in his letter, that Britain would look favourably upon Zionist plans in Palestine. They would look favourably upon Zionist plans in Palestine. So this is the third agreement in 3 years, and this one contradicts the others as well. Because clearly there, Balfour is saying, look, if the Zionists want to establish a Jewish state in Palestine, we're okay with that. We look favourably on it. So, in 1915, they've said it can be an independent Palestinian Arab Palestine. And then in 1916, they said, no, it can be internationally controlled because Britain and France want to, dominate the area. And then a year after that, they said, oh, no, actually, we can have a Jewish state there. So that's three different things that are all, as I say, quite different from each other. Britain have contradicted themselves twice, or three times. Balfour did add, as a part of his declaration, that they would look favourably, keep using those words, they would look favourably on this, on the Zionist plans for Palestine, so long as the interests of non-Jews in the areas weren't harmed, namely the Arabs. But, this seemingly, you don't have to be a genius to work out that this seemingly is pretty impossible because the Arabs want the same thing as the Jews, an independent state of their own. Yeah, so the Arabs want an independent Arab Palestine and the Jews want an independent Jewish state. Well, they're two totally different things. So, again, this whole... Already, we've got a massive problem. We've only just started the course. This is it. We've already got a massive problem in 1917, and it's only going to get bigger and more the scale of it is going to, the scale of the whole problem is going to get even bigger as we know. I mean, look at what's going on in the news right now. So those, as I've gone through there, were the three agreements that Britain made between 1915 and 1917 regarding Palestine and what to do with it. So all three contradict each other, and clearly, as I've said already, this will create some massive issues moving forward. You'll see exactly what these issues are, or what I say were and are, over the next few lessons. What we're going to look at next lesson is what happens to Palestine straight after the First World War. So, which agreement are Britain going to stick to, and how are they going to solve this problem? Or are they going to solve this problem? You shall see. So hopefully, I know a few of you are there was a lot of information, it was kind of information overload. It's always quite daunting starting a new topic, and you've already had three different pieces of, three different things happen there, three different events, and we've only just started. So hopefully it's clarified a few issues that you were having. I'm going to make plenty more videos on the Middle East topic because there aren't that many, as things stand, there aren't that many on the channel, so there's going to be some more coming. But as I say, hopefully that's clarified the three agreements. As I said before, if you need to look back at that contextual information that we looked at the start of the lesson, where it was looking at, the history of Palestine and the area, then that'd be a good idea too. But as I say, hopefully it's clarified a few things. I hope everything's going well. Well done for the exams again. Still marking them, but they'll be done pretty soon, and then we'll go through them. I'm still marking the World War I papers anyway. I'll get them back to you soon. We'll go through those, but keep up the good work, Year 11. You're working your socks off. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.